you know King Solomon? For those who don't know, he is the son of King David and also became the king of Israel in the 10th century before Common Era. He is also known not only for his wealth and power, but above all for his extraordinary wisdom that was given to him by God. But we have something different. Did you know that in the middle of Jerusalem, tunnels and rooms filled with gold were discovered? That's not all, because it also contains inscriptions and mysterious symbols that seem to be directly connected to King Solomon. This video is pretty mind-blowing because it was once believed to be just a legend, but thanks to the skill and dedication of the experts, they discovered it. And the big question now is it true that all of these are connected to King Solomon? And is it also true that they found the king's tomb here? And that's what we're going to find out. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us as content creators. Thank you very much, and now let's begin. Solomon's lost tomb. Beneath the hills of Jerusalem lies the history and secrets that have been buried for thousands of years. But now it seems that a part of the past has resurfaced. For a long time, people have been searching for the so-called lost tomb of King Solomon. Some believe that it is just a legend, but a new discovery has reignited the old mystery. Solomon was no ordinary king. He was King David's son, and according to the Bible, one of Israel's wisest and richest kings. During his reign, the kingdom flourished. Gold poured in, trade grew, and Jerusalem's first temple was built. This temple was described as a masterpiece. It was made with wood from Lebanon, adorned with pure gold and stones as perfect as jewels. But more than his wealth, Solomon was also known for his wisdom and fair judgment. The most famous story is about two women fighting over a baby. When Solomon offered to divide the child, one of them willingly gave him up, and from then on, everyone knew who the real mother was. He was recognized as a symbol of justice and wisdom. Even leaders from other kingdoms were captivated by his charisma. The Queen of Sheba herself came to his land, bringing chests of gold, spices, and precious jewels. At the end of their meeting, the queen admitted that Solomon's wisdom and power were greater than anything she had ever heard. But even though there are so many records or data about his life, one big question remains. Where is his tomb? There is no clear marker, no sarcophagus, and no discovered chamber to prove where he was buried. Some say it is hidden under the Temple Mount, while others believe it is in caves or secret passages that were deliberately sealed so that people would not find them while alive. Centuries passed, and those who searched for his tomb failed. So many lost hope and believed that Solomon's tomb would remain a legend. But then, an accidental discovery happened. A crack appeared in the ground after a heavy rain, and this gave a new direction. According to those who saw it, the shape of the crack seemed unnatural. This is when modern archaeologists came in. With the help of ground-penetrating radar, tunnels appeared that were not made by nature, but by humans. They were deep, sturdy, and seemed to be intentionally hidden. Every step of their excavation was dangerous. A single wrong move could collapse the entire area. But despite the danger, they still continued. And as the digging continued, the mystery deepened. What they found was not just a wall or a passageway, but signs of stories that dated back 3,000 years ago. But is this really the tomb of King Solomon they were looking for? Or is it just a trap set by time? A game created by history to keep his legend alive? The relentless quest for Solomon's tomb. For many centuries, the search for King Solomon's tomb has been like chasing a shadow. Since the time of the knights and the medieval era, they have really been digging at the Temple Mount to find Solomon's tomb. There even came a time in the 19th century when they also dug up the hills of Judea. And all those expeditions ended up with nothing. Repeated disappointment, repeated failure. Many eventually believe that the tomb does not really exist. Others blame the wrong map, bad luck, or simply imagination. By the 21st century, almost all experts had given up searching. But then, a change came. Dr. Emily Carter, an archaeologist better known for old documents, found a strange clue in ancient records. In the middle of the old Hebrew records, she found the records. The tax records showed payments being sent to a place not mentioned in the official documents. This place was near the city of David, a site that was deliberately hidden until it was forgotten by history. According to a local historian in the city of David, if you dig here, everything you uncover is actually written in the Bible. Despite this, with the help of modern technology like ground-penetrating radar that can see underground. On the hard rock, his group began to investigate one side of the area. But not everything was easy. The ground is covered with hard limestone. The place is very dangerous and even collapsing. Despite everything, they continued until one day. A heavy rain opened a small depression in the ground. The archaeologists noticed that its shape was unusual. When they scanned it with radar, they detected a pulse coming from underneath. Tunnels. It was clearly man-made, deep and mysterious. The initial examination showed that this passage was carved directly into the rock. It was about 13 meters deep, but this was no ordinary tunnel. There were false passages deliberately made to confuse possible tomb robbers. It was like a maze built to protect a secret. While keeping an eye on the symbols and markings around, Dr. Carter pieced together the fragments of an old letter that seemed to give directions, signs that would lead them closer to the real entrance. It wasn't a pleasant place, nor was it obvious, but it was clearly intentional. Clues that something was hidden at the end, concealed within the very silence of the earth. Experts say they've only seen a small portion of the entire structure so far. If this is truly connected to Solomon, the larger and more important part remains hidden at the very end, and it is just waiting to be rediscovered. And as they get closer, the feeling grows stronger that a great secret has long been hiding underground. Breaking Solomon's ancient seal. Imagine a wall of stone that not only serves as a barrier, but also as a warning. Under the ancient tunnel being excavated by Dr. Emily Carter's team, they found a massive slab of stone, a slab that seemed to be built not just to hide a room, but to protect it from anyone who would try to enter. This was no ordinary stone. Surrounding it were false passages and traps ready to collapse at the slightest misstep. A clever design intended to make grave robbers give up. It's like an ancient security system that doesn't use metal or modern technology, but relies purely on the intelligence and strategy of ancient engineers. While inspecting the signs around the entrance, Dr. Carter noticed a strange carving on the stone. 7 lines, 7 symbols, arranged in a pattern that seems to represent 7 people. The construction of the first temple. This is not a simple decoration, but rather a key, a puzzle that must be solved in order to pass through. For 3 days, the team's work was non-stop. Using laser scanners and modern equipment, they studied every line as if they were defusing a bomb. Each movement, every stone lifted, brought anxiety, because they knew that even a single wrong step could cause a collapse and end everything. Until the moment came, a loud thud followed by dust falling from the ceiling, and the slab slowly began to move. It didn't open cleanly or quickly. It was like a monster slowly waking up from its slumber. A dark gap slowly appeared. It was like the mouth of a cave that had been closed for a long time. Everything was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They could feel that behind that black portal was a history that had yet to be revealed. A story spanning 3,000 years. They didn't know what awaited them. Treasure? History? Or a curse that had long been trapped in the darkness? But one thing was clear. With the breaking of that seal, a new chapter in the mystery of King Solomon began. The hidden riches of King Solomon. At the first flash of light from their flashlight, it struck something that sparkled. Gold. And in an instant, everything stopped. No one spoke. No one breathed. It was as if all the legends they believed in suddenly became real before their very eyes. Underneath the city of David, a chamber was discovered that seemed untouched by humans for 3,000 years. Every corner of it was filled with treasures once thought to be mere figments of imagination. Along the walls were rows of golden vessels. Each one had carvings in ancient Hebrew, gleaming as if they had just been polished. At the end of the room stood a massive menorah, a 7-branched candelabrum that, according to Scripture, could be found in the first temple. But the difference was, this was not a replica, but seemed to be the very original used thousands of years ago. Its weight and fine craftsmanship left them stunned above all, because now they held a piece of evidence that history had long sought. This was not just gold and silver. On the sides there were pieces of silk that, although faded, showed Solomon's connection to distant trade routes reaching India and Africa. There were also carved ivories, small boxes containing jewelry with emeralds, rubies, and lapis lazuli. One of the archaeologists whispered that compared to the British, what they had was like a thrift shop compared to what we're seeing now. When a sealed jar was opened, the fragrance of saffron, frankincense, and a unique citrus scent burst out, as if from a distant land. A scent that seemed to have traveled from the past. But the more they discovered, the more questions arose. Some symbols were unidentifiable, and some designs didn't align with Solomon's era. Some say that maybe these were added by another king, perhaps his son Rehoboam. But whatever the answer is, it's clear that that room was not just a storage area. It was a message left to be reopened at the right time. That's why they carefully examined every piece. Using laser scanners, they inspected everything before touching it, because they knew one wrong move was all it took, and the chance to retell a chapter of history guarded by the desert for many centuries would be lost. And as they stared at the golden menorah, only one question thundered in their minds. If this is Solomon's treasure, then where is his tomb? Hidden symbols in Solomon's tomb. After being fascinated by the treasures they saw, there was something else that caught their attention even more. The strange carvings on the wall. These were not simple decorations. In the light of their torches, shapes and lines appeared as if they had a life of their own. In the midst of the markings, a star-shaped figure stood out, sharp, precise, and almost identical to the symbol associated with the legend of the Seal of Solomon. According to ancient stories, this seal was said to have been used by the king to command spirits and protect his kingdom. Now here it is, carved into the stone. It's as if it was deliberately left as proof of his power. But that's not all. The lines are not just art. There are patterns that look like blueprints, with ratios and angles that seem designed for a structure more advanced than what was expected in their time. One of the archaeologists joked, "It's like we're reading Solomon's calculus notebook." In one corner of the room, several clay tablets filled with Hebrew script are stacked. Some are still clear, others have almost been erased by time. One of the tablets describes the measurements of the temple. It's almost the same as what's written in the Book of Kings. But there are others that are more mysterious. The arrangement of the words is like a puzzle, not a simple record. One line refers to a key. It's connected to hidden knowledge. In Dr. Carter's mind, the legend about the Key of Solomon immediately came to mind, an ancient book of rituals and mystical knowledge that is often thought to be imaginary. But what if these tablets are the very source of that legend? And before they could examine it closely, they discovered something hidden in a crack in the wall, a box that was almost unnoticeable, small, nearly the size of a carry-on, but heavy and sealed. The same star seen on the wall was engraved there, no hinges or visible lock, as if it was sealed to never be opened again. The whole team quietly approached. They could feel the heaviness in the air as they stared at the box. They didn't open it, knowing it was dangerous and that something might be lost that could never be returned. But everyone had the same question in their minds. Is this really Solomon's secret? Does it contain the wisdom hidden for 3,000 years? And if so, is the world ready to know it? Solomon's tomb discovery sparks global controversy. The most intense earthquake didn't happen underground, but in the world of academia. After the team read the mysterious inscription on the wall, lines that seemed to be written by Solomon himself, it immediately caused a commotion around the world. In just a few words, the debate was revived. Was this truly proof of the king, or just a deceptive carving made to fit the legend? Supporters said this is the smoking gun. The writing style, the language, and the location all perfectly match the time of Solomon, particularly from 970 to 931 before Common Era. Several other experts testified that every detail, from the design of the temple to the treasures found, exactly matches the text written in the Bible. But critics were quick to disagree. For them, it was just too perfect. They said the words seemed deliberately made to sound biblical rather than being genuine ancient texts. Others noticed symbols that seemed Persian mixed around the inscription. If that's true, the carving might have been made centuries after Solomon died, as an imitation or maybe even a fake created to strengthen a story. In universities and online forums, the discussion turned into a boxing ring. Professors argued heatedly on live panels, while some journals paused publishing new articles to study the controversial evidence. In newspaper headlines, you would see conflicting titles: Solomon found on one hand and holy hoax on the other. In the midst of all this, Dr. Emily Carter remained calm. According to her, we were not looking for a king, but the signs kept appearing again and again. If this isn't worth investigating, then what is? Now, every line of the inscription carries even more meaning. It's not just a simple prayer. It seems like a personal voice from the past. A king facing his own power, looking up to the stars for guidance and possibly leaving the only trace of his own hand. And if this is true, the tomb that has long been doubted is no longer just a legend. It has become a real battlefield, not of swords, but of ideas, faith, and science. Solomon and Sheba, an ancient encounter in stone. The world of religion and history was suddenly shaken when Tim read a new inscription inside the chamber. The name of a queen, the Queen of Sheba, was engraved on the ancient stone. It was as if time stood still. This name was not just a character. She is an important figure in both the Bible and the Quran, known as the queen who visited King Solomon to test his wisdom. Now, it appears there's evidence they actually met. The news immediately echoed around the world. The rabbis opened the Torah once again. The priests searched for passages in the Old Testament. And the imams examined Surah An-Naml in the Quran, where the same story is mentioned. For some, this was proof that the scriptures were not just legend, but actual history. But along with the excitement came intense doubt. There were experts who said that the style of the carvings did not match the time of Solomon. Others accused that it may have been written centuries later, just as a tribute, or even worse, a fake made to create a stir. Politics didn't help either. The site is in Jerusalem, a place that has long been a center of tension between different religions. So the question of who has the right to this discovery only fueled the conflict further. But the inscription has an even deeper meaning. This is not just a simple visit. The details mentioned seem to describe an alliance, a relationship in trade, diplomacy, and perhaps even in the sharing of knowledge between two powerful kingdoms. If this is true, it means that Israel and Sheba had a strong relationship thousands of years ago. For believers, this is a sign that the Holy Story has physical evidence. But for critics, this is a reminder that history is easily manipulated. So the question remains, is this truly a memory of a queen and a king, or just a story written in stone to strengthen faith? And as the conflict continues, the team has found something again. something that is not just a simple carving, but something smaller, heavier, and possibly more powerful than anything they've seen before. The Golden Seal of Solomon. In a room's corner, nearly unnoticed, the group made a discovery. A small object, but heavier than all the treasures they've seen. A golden ring, thick, solid, and clearly made for a king. At first it seemed like an old piece of jewelry, but when the light hit the engraving, a six-pointed star appeared, a shape resembling the Star of David. Suddenly, the whole team fell silent. Could this be King Solomon's very own ring? After examination, experts confirmed that the metal matches the period of the 10th century before Common Era, but even before that, rumors had already spread. Was this ring used as the king's seal? The same sign that may have marked agreements in Phoenicia, letters for Sheba, or decrees that established the kingdom of Israel? But not everyone believed right away. Some offered an explanation. Warning, there are also many similar rings from the 8th century before Common Era that are linked to other kings like Hezekiah. And the Star of David, according to history, became widespread much later. So the question is this truly a rare legacy of Solomon? Or is it simply a family heirloom that ended up in his hands? It wasn't easy to hold on to it either. The ring was placed in an oxygen-controlled case, cleaned with micro tools, and studied using laser scans. Every line and every detail was examined. Experts debated over each aspect as if they were holding the key to history. If it really did belong to Solomon, this would be the first direct connection of his hand to the world he left behind. A true signature from a king who remains a legend to this day. And while everyone was busy studying the ring, they noticed something unusual, a wall that seemed to be hiding something, a new shadow, a new door, and possibly a new mystery that could be even bigger. So, out of everything they found, the forgotten songs of a king. After they found the golden ring, the group discovered something even more astonishing. The wall showed not words, but what appeared to be carved musical notes. At first they looked like plain lines, but when the light from their torches hit it, a clear pattern emerged. Repeated marks, carefully spaced, and symbols that seemed to refer to ancient instruments like the harp, lyre, and flute. There was even a clear carving resembling the 10-stringed harp connected to King David, the father of Solomon. According to the first book of Chronicles, chapter 25, Solomon inherited not only the throne, but also the tradition of music for worship. So these carvings seem to prove that music was an important part of his reign. An intern on the team tried to play a simple pattern using a replica of the harp. Although rough and incomplete, the music brought a strange chill, as if an ancient hymn buried for 3,000 years had come back to life. But like other discoveries, it was immediately met with skepticism. Some experts said that the notation was too detailed and advanced for the time of Solomon. Some even said that it might be influenced by Babylonian or Persian culture, which could have been added centuries later. Nevertheless, wherever it came from, the effect was the same. Inside the dark room, it no longer felt like a tomb. It felt like a church or a concert hall from the past where music served as a prayer. The team used laser scanners to record every line and symbol. A single wrong touch or even a breath too close could erase the notes forever. That's why every movement was made with extreme care. But as they observed the final part of the engraving, there was another hidden clue. Right beneath the musical markings, there was a sealed chamber that seemed deeper than anything they had ever seen. And according to their radar scan, this might be the very chamber the whole world has long been searching for, the king's actual tomb. Where is King Solomon really buried? After all the treasures, inscriptions, and mysterious music, one important question remains. Is Solomon's tomb really here? Up to now, no body, sarcophagus, or burial mask has been found. Yes, the chambers are real. The artifacts are real, from the golden ring, the menorah, to the musical engravings. All clearly point to the 10th century before Common Era, the very era of Solomon. but there is still no direct evidence that he himself is buried there. In the tent of their base camp, Dr. Emily Carter and her team are gathered around maps, clay tablets, and advanced scanners. Their conclusion is that what they found could be a royal archive or a private sanctuary of the king, a place built to safeguard treasures and memories, but it doesn't necessarily contain his remains. Despite this, someone entered. Signs that seem to suggest something deeper is hidden. They used AI scans and found strange cavities and geometric lines beneath the bedrock. These could possibly be additional chambers, or maybe there's nothing at all. But there is hope that the real tomb is still hidden, deeper down, just waiting for the right time. However, there is a major obstacle. This place is near the Temple Mount, one of the most controversial locations in the entire world. A permit alone is not enough. Diplomacy, agreements, and the permission of many religions are needed before any excavation can take place. That's why the search was temporarily halted. For now, the final resting place of King Solomon remains a mystery. It could be right beneath their feet, it could be gone. But one thing is clear, the stones have begun to speak again. And with every clue that emerges, we get closer to the answer. So the question is this the end or just the beginning of the greatest discovery in the history of Israel?